Third day of CeBIT 2015. We are still in Hall 2 here in the TechLounge studio at the Intel booth in Hanover, in sunny Hanover. Unfortunately, I just can't experience it, outside because I'm sitting here in the studio for pretty much the whole day, well, until sunset at least. I'm very glad to have Christian Roth from Intel over here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the working space, the desktop, and the devices that I'm going to use in the future.
Yeah, hey, Sasha, thank you for having me here today in sunny Hanover. Actually, it is sunny, but it's bloody freezing outside. I was just outside, and it's not more than 5 degrees, I would say. So I'm looking forward to get back to Munich tonight. This is where we have 18 degrees. So, but anyways, yes, we wanted to talk about devices, what you actually can do with those devices, and mainly about tablets and two-in-ones, I think.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you guys kicked it off like about, I think 2 years ago during Computex. Kirkskorgen just presented the two-in-one strategy, and somehow for me it felt like what the overall concept of the notebook, of the laptop, got kind of reanimated, because the original design is, well, it's 2015. I think it was Toshiba back in 1985 introducing the clamshell design. So it's 30th anniversary.
For the notebook, it is, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So it was just about time to bring out some new invention. Absolutely. So coming back to the point what we actually did with those, two-in-ones and tablets, and maybe we need to kind of back off and have a quick look at the market, what's going on out there. And if we look back at 2014, and that's kind of an interesting thing, the market for tablets and two-in-ones is actually pretty big, and especially for the business side, it's much bigger than anybody would anticipate. I'll give you a good example. So IDC is tracking business tablets, right? So it was about 9 million units last year in EMEA in terms of business tablets. So now, Sasha, what is a business tablet?
What is a business tablet?
Well, I can't tell you, what IDC thinks what a business tablet is, but what they are tracking is actually tablets through business channels.
Okay.
So that does not mean that this is a business tablet, because a tablet is a tablet.
Right.
It's not a business tablet, it's not a consumer tablet, it's a tablet. And same thing probably for a two-in-one. Nevertheless, what we then said is, bloody hell, there's a huge number of tablets out there, but probably the market for business tablets is much bigger than we actually think.
Yeah.
And what we then kind of looked into was, okay, so how can we segment the market, and how can we actually size the market? So now that we know that 9 million units are tablets through business channels, we have a new data point from Gartner. And Gartner says that 60% of the tablets that are being used in enterprises are BYOD. So that means, this is being bought through consumer channels. So if that is 60%, and we know that 9 million units is 40%, that is 13 million units. Oh man, so you have 22 million units tablets and two-in-ones that were sold last year that IT has to manage. Yeah. And that is on Windows, that is on Android, and that is on iOS.
I think we're talking about business tablets, and yes, it's kind of hard to define it by the way it looks like, what kind of specific hardware we're using. We've had Michael Melzi from Fujitsu Germany in here, and those guys are constantly coming up with some really new, amazing B2B and enterprise tablets, ruggedized. But I think you have a tablet. Is it a tablet? Is it a two-in-one? You're using one, and in my opinion, this is a true business tablet.
And yeah, so the Surface Pro. So that is, I would actually say that is a business tablet. I'm not entirely sure whether it actually is with.
Is this your daily driver?
Yeah. Well, I'm not at that stage yet where I would say I can use it 100% in only this one, because I must admit I only started with it 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So I got this built from our IT folks, and I must admit I had a bit of a problem or learning curve from Windows 7 to Windows 8.1. Yeah. But it's getting much better now, and I must admit I love this device, absolutely. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing, if you are a business user, this is...
Let me just... It's a very well-known device, isn't it? So, well, first of all, you have this beautiful 12.5-inch full HD tablet, which is running on a Core I think you can get it with Core i5 and Core i7.
That's a Core i7?
That's a Core i7. So this is a really fast tablet. It almost can't get any faster. And it comes together with this kind of keyboard that also turns into a lid and into a protection of your display. And even though it's just super thin, as you can tell, I mean, the physical feedback of these keys is absolutely amazing. And you know what? Everyone that I know who has a Surface Pro is just deeply in love with it.
And I'm getting to that point now as well, I think. And yeah, I mean, you really good resolution, you know, fantastic hardware equipment in there. So yeah, it's really good stuff. But I must admit, give me another 2 weeks or so, and then I can tell you whether this is something that I will use day in and day out.
Yeah.
At the moment, I do. And as I said, I'm getting to that stage where I will fall in love.
Yeah. We're talking about the workspace of the future, where we are using these devices. Talking about a kind of seamless experience in between different devices. This already changed the way we're working. So we are more mobile right now. We have the chance just to move from one desk to the other. The both of us, we still remember a time where we just had this one desktop PC, and you need to make sure that you're sitting at this one desk. So right now, just gives us also a really personal freedom, and also personal freedom for your employees.
It does, but on workplace transformation and there, you know, I'm a guy of data. Right? I love data, and you know that actually there's a lot of truth in data. And interesting, so we did a kind of a survey with students, and so 70% of the students that we actually polled said that they don't really want to work in an office environment.
Yeah.
They can work from home. So 70%, that is quite a lot, I would say. And at the same time, actually not at the same time, but before that, we had another study with business people. And that was back in 2010. And back in 2010, 60% of the people said that they don't really need to work in an office environment. And in 2011, it was already 69%. Now, I just had a presentation this morning. We were talking about workplace transformation. The feedback that I got from the people was that they actually see people coming back to the offices now. So it's not that everything goes mobile. You know, what you really want is to have the opportunity to work from wherever you want to, whenever you want to, without any limits. But at the same time, you still want to have that kind of an office environment that actually connects you with the people and with the business. So it's a kind of a trade-off on where you work and how you want to work. But and then also, and this is actually the point that I wanted to make, is with the generations. So I think Gen X and Gen Y are not that much different. And I guess we are getting closer the more mature the Generation Y actually gets.
So specifically, those guys that grew up with an internet, and I mean, I always try to take it this way. The both of us, we were born in Analogistan, right? And we're living in this world of digitalia. But for this generation that grew up with the internet, a generation that doesn't know anything about a world without the internet, I think this personal freedom, the flexibility of using devices in a professional environment is just very, very crucial. Maybe even when it comes to choose their preferred job.
It is. And then I guess the big question is there going to be one device that does it all? And no, I wouldn't say no. So, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Again, the Surface Pro, I'm using that at the moment as a companion device. This is going to be my primary workhorse pretty shortly. But at the same time, I still have, at home, for example, an all-in-one, with a big screen because I need it for whatever I do. I mean, in that case, it's for photos. And I still have my smartphone. And as the smartphone screens are getting bigger, you can actually do much more with them. Even watching a PowerPoint presentation, which I was impressed.
Yeah, that works. So just when you're on the road right now, you're still carrying an ordinary laptop with you, or can you just completely switch over to the Surface Pro? But you're also using your smartphone on a daily basis. Of course, who doesn't? That was a rhetorical question. I'm sorry about that, Christian.
Yeah, it depends on what I use it for, because my mobile phone is not being used for any kind of phone calls, but it's rather for just some text messaging or for any kind of apps that I need, like for example a Lufthansa app, which hopefully is going to tell me that my flight tonight is still on.
They're on strike, aren't they?
Yes, and I heard it this morning, actually last night, and I thought like, okay, so my flight is 6:45. Will they make it? And they did. Yes.
Oh, there you
I was
go.
impressed.
So, just to get an idea of, well, you already told us that it's just amazing how our screen sizes change the way you can use devices. We remember a time where a 3-inch, 3.5-inch screen on a mobile device was just a standard. And then all of a sudden we're moving into a world of 5.5 to 6-inch, basically almost eating into the tablet space. It's a bigger screen, just taking more screen time on a mobile device, taking more screen time away from you from a desktop and from an all-in-one or from a tablet, or do you still need your big screen, even though you just want to consume some content?
So I've tried a lot of different devices with a lot of different screens, and I think this is what people need to do, to figure out what they actually need. So what is it that they do with it? Because I'll give you an example. So I've also used a Dell Venue 8.
Yeah.
Actually, Dell Venue 7 or 8. That was too small. So that was not. It was too small to work with it properly, at least for me, and it was too big, to actually use that as a smartphone. So from that perspective, I think you got to try out what fits best to you.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I'm a strong believer, and you have it actually with the Surface Pro 3. If this wouldn't have a keyboard, then it would only be half as useful as it actually is to me.
I have to admit, I just can't work on a virtual keyboard on the big screens.
Nope.
I'm really trying, but I failed so miserably in the past. But of course, the biggest advantage that you just mentioned right now is also, a partner like Microsoft, just having the Office suite not only on your laptop, not only on a tablet, but you can also access it over your phone right now.
You can, and that's a kind of an interesting thing, because we initially started with a segmentation, what people are doing with their devices. And on the BYOD side, so when you bring your own device, you actually use it as a companion device.
Right.
And what do you do with it? It's email, it's calendar, it's browsing. So ideally, the kind of killer app for that is Office. Yeah. And I think Microsoft is doing exactly the right thing, enabling Office now for Android, enabling Office obviously on Windows, but then also on iOS. So this is what people are doing. Nevertheless, I think you can still do much more with a Windows 8 device. I wouldn't say much more, but you can do a bit more with a Windows 8 device if it has a keyboard, because the workflow, at least for me, not being somebody who grew up with T9, is much easier for me.
Just to wrap it up, it's good to see bigger screen smartphones because we can get a lot of work done on them. It's crucial for us, for content creators, to have a physical keyboard, and you know what? And the next big thing might gonna change it all over again. We need to be, and we need to stay flexible.
I fully agree, but maybe the next one after that one is probably the Dell that you have.
You're gonna love it.
That looks really good, and I'm kind of amazed that nobody figured out how to put a 13-inch screen into an 11-inch bezel. So.
That's probably the best laptop I've ever had in my life. And I was a huge supporter of this really high-end Sony Vaio Z for $3,000 or $4,000. This starts at $799 with the Core S3 platform. It's an absolutely beauty. 10 hours of battery life. I'm just stunned when I'm using it.
And that's with the Core i7, 5th generation, 14 nanometers.
Yeah, well, I'm using the Core i5 here. Okay. 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 SSD, and I'm also using the non-touch version because it comes with a matte screen and a full HD. So you can easily squeeze like 10 hours of battery life out of this. And Yeah, it works for me. I love it. It has a great keyboard.
That
You
is
gotta
a-
love the keyboard.
You got to watch out for that, that you still have it when you fly back at some point.
Christian, thank you
All
so
right.
much for joining us over here. We're gonna have a short break, and then we're gonna take a look at the BMW iScooter, which is an electric scooter, and then we're gonna be back with a Kiwi key, which is an intelligent key.